So good morning, everyone. I hope everyone was safe from last night. What a massive storm. I was up about 3:30 checking the news, and I know people were getting in their safe space. And, I will say that sometimes I don't know if we share enough appreciation with the weather folks from all the different stations that are up and trying to figure out how to make sure that we stay safe. I know they were up all night, and I saw them this morning as well. So I do want to thank them. They really tried very, very hard to keep us all safe. Our guest today is Ernie Nolan, the Executive Artistic Director at the Nashville Children's Theater. Ernie, thanks for being on. How you doing this morning?
Good. Thanks for the invite, Jim. Thanks for having me.
Sure thing. And you have power, obviously.
Power. Well, yes. Great responsibility.
You have power as the Executive Artistic Director, but you also have power with lights on.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I feel so fortunate. Yeah, both at home and at the theater. Last night, huddled in, our safe space was the downstairs bathroom, and we have friends staying with us as well. So it was 4 adults and 2 cats in the downstairs bathroom. And I just kept on hoping that the theater had power this morning, and we have power.
Well, I know that I think I heard 87,000 houses without power this morning.
Yeah.
I think in the Nashville area. I think that's right. I know that unfortunately there were some fatalities in West Tennessee, and I know Kentucky got really hit hard last night, and I know that they had many fatalities, and my heart goes out to them. Our thoughts are with them today. Once again, this area has been hit with natural disasters, and it's really difficult. And it's just we keep getting hit, but we keep trying to recover, and that's the best we can do. So before we actually get fully started, I usually ask some type of irrelevant question. I think there's a green thing behind your.
Yes.
What is that?
This is a dragon finger puppet.
Okay. I thought from a distance it was Slimer or whatever that thing is in Ghostbusters, but it's actually the dragon that goes with the Nashville Children's Theater.
Dragon that goes, and then there's also a knight and a wizard. Okay. There are many magical people.
Right.
You never know when in the office you just need to break out the finger puppets.
Well, I have some of those in my office. Let me ask you one other question. The top thing, there's a bobblehead. What is that thing? It's on the. Oh. It's not there. It's to your left. There you go. That thing. What is that?
My Shakespeare bobblehead.
Oh.
And a student went to Mexico and brought back a sombrero. Yeah. So I kind of keep the sombrero with Shakespeare.
Do you think, because are you a Shakespeare fan?
Yeah. My father has a doctorate in dramatic literature, and so we were kind of a theater. We were a nerdy theater family. And so,
all right, so let me ask you one last irrelevant question and we get started. Do you think that Shakespeare ever wore a sombrero like what you've got there?
I don't think necessarily a sombrero, but I think a fierce hat, definitely. Yeah.
That would probably make sense.
Yeah.
All right, let's get started after those irrelevant questions.
Sure thing.
So my guest today is Ernie Nolan, Executive Artistic Director of the Nashville Children's Theater. Again, we hope that everyone is safe from last night. I'm not sure how many people actually have power that could get on, but I know that even if they're not on today, they may be watching later on in the week when it comes up. So we're going to carry on. Again, hope people are safe. I know lots and lots of people in this area are without power, and I hope people are recovering as well as they can be today. So Ernie, the first question that we always have for folks is, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get all this illustrious power at the Nashville Children's Theater? Where are you from? What have you done? And tell us about coming to the Children's Theater.
Yeah, totally. No, I grew up in the Detroit area. I was born outside of Detroit and grew up in Detroit. As I kind of mentioned before, my parents were theater lovers. They both actually performed opposite each other in high school and then in college. And my father has a doctorate in dramatic literature. My mother eventually got a master's in theater for young audiences. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. I went to the University of Michigan for undergrad. I actually got my undergraduate degree in musical theater performance, and then went to New York, worked off Broadway, worked at several regional theaters. And while performing, I also was a dance captain, and the dance captain for professional shows, learns the choreography and helps set a show, and then is responsible for maintaining it. And I worked a lot with a company in New York, Gilbert and Sullivan, and I was learning all these Gilbert and Sullivan operettas. But while doing them, like, I was doing productions that were created like 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And so creative wise and creatively, like, the show was set. This was the version that you did. And, I'd have ideas about, oh, it'd be really cool if we changed this. And that, that wasn't my job. But friends of mine encouraged me to apply to graduate school. And so I got into the MFA directing program at the theater school of DePaul. And so got my master's there in Chicago, and then started my directing and teaching career, and was fortunate enough to also start a relationship with the theater in Kansas City. In grad school, I did a bunch of Shakespeare and sort of classic plays. I was kind of the guy who was setting, Romeo and Juliet in a Catholic school classroom, or Shakespeare's Twelfth Night in a 80s nightclub with rock music. A lot of my graduate school work, I was comparing DJ theory to directing, and how like directing is really kind of like creating a mixtape, or also sort of like, controlling a dance floor. You don't want every song the same. You want things that audience enjoy, their high, their lows. And I kind of got reintroduced to children's theater while doing a project. And while doing that, then it kind of catapulted an internship, which then catapulted professional experience, which then I was artistic director of a company in Chicago for years, and then also taught at the theater school at DePaul. And it was while there, I got an email and a phone call about being interested in coming to Nashville Children's Theater. And in the field of children's theater, there are really a handful of theaters that really are the titans. And I was fortunate enough to work with Scott Copeland on the Theater for Young Audiences USA board. And for a time, Scott also worked on the magazine at TYA Today, and I was a writer for the magazine. So I got to work with Scott. But while working in Chicago, got the call, did the interviews, and was fortunate enough to get this job, and here I am.
So Scott was a great guy and a friend of mine, and I thought the world of him, and still miss him very much.
Yeah, he was beloved in the field.
Yeah,
Scott was really one of the
titans. Great thing. Let me ask you a couple of questions about what you just talked about. First of all, you said your parents acted opposite each other in high school and college.
Yeah.
Were they boyfriend and girlfriend then, or were they?
It was just starting. By college, yes. In high school, things were just starting. But there are lots of pictures of them playing opposite each other in Camelot. And they actually won the National One-Act Play Festival playing opposite each other. And so there's some really great photos, and a family friend also did a painting of them from that play. That's kind of
what a great thing.
Art piece.
So in Camelot, where it was, what were their roles? Do you remember?
They were Arthur and Guinevere.
Okay, all right. So they had the lead roles.
Yeah.
Unless you can't, Lancelot as also.
Yeah, like up there, troublemaker.
Yeah, troublemaker. He ruined your parents' relationship.
Right. And then later they also did the Scottish play playing opposite each other. I'm in the theater, so I'm not going to say it out loud and jinx myself, but they did Shakespeare's Scottish play played opposite each other as well.
Okay, all right, let me talk to you a little bit about off-Broadway, because my sister was off-Broadway and so was my brother-in-law.
Yeah,
so they were they did I know my brother-in-law did a tremendous amount of stuff off-Broadway for years. Reed Birney, and I don't know if you know him. You know Reed?
I know of him.
Yeah. Yes, and my sister is Connie Schulman, and she did the original Linnell on Still Magnolias in the Lucille Lucerne Theater. Is that right?
Oh, Lucille Lortel. Lucille Lortel.
Okay.
Lortel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She did that, and I know Reed did a bunch of stuff off Broadway, and I think they still do stuff off Broadway. And I will tell you a quick story, because when she was had first gotten up there and was doing a show off Broadway, I mean, we were so thrilled, so excited. I remember going to New York to see her in this show, and we took a car. You know, it was so fancy. We took a car to the theater. It was in some warehouse. You had to take a freight elevator to get to the theater. They had folding chairs, and it was like, what is this?
Yeah.
That was off Broadway.
Yeah.
Now it's changed a little bit since then. I remember the Lucille Lortel Theater was very nice. And,
Yes.
It was, you had seats there that actually didn't move.
Yeah.
So off Broadway, what was it like doing off Broadway stuff for you?
Oh, so exciting. It was so exciting at the time. You know, I finished college and you know, was fortunate enough to be like a working actor in New York, and also working with a company of people. I was the kind of new kid in the company, and the amount of experience that everybody had. One of the shows I did, I actually worked with Frank Gorshin, he was the Joker.
So he was the Riddler. The Riddler in Batman. Sure. Yeah.
Riddler. So worked with Frank Gorshin. We also had the funny thing about the theater I worked a lot at the Symphony Space, and I know they've recently done some renovations, but it was very funny. It was this pretty beautiful theater, and there were curtains on the side. But if you went through one of the curtains, you were literally backstage in the green room. And every once in a while, there would be like an audience member who was all of a sudden like backstage with us. It was funny. But the operatic company I worked with used to woo a lot of television stars and personalities and things. And so one time, Rue McClanahan busted through the curtain to backstage, and there we all were in like our, you know, I think we were doing Princess Ida or the Mikado. I mean, but there we all were, and there was like Rue McClanahan looking for the bar, but we were all just like cubs.
I mean, did she just got lost looking for?
Yeah,
the
she just. Well, it was really easy in that theater because it looked. You wondered where these curtains on the side of the audience were, but it was like, boop, one exit through a curtain, and you were backstage. Celeste Holm, the film actress in All About Eve, she was backstage one day too. So it was very funny. We were always, whatever happened at this theater, it was just very funny and very easy for folks to end up backstage.
Well, I will tell you that for those folks who are watching who may never have been to the theater or New York, I think it's really fun to go to off-Broadway stuff.
Unstable.
Well, I mean, I've got somebody who's unmuted, so I can hear him. But Ernie, I think it's always fun to go off Broadway, and a lot of celebrities that people would have heard of are in the audience because they're interested in theater too. So I think I was there one time with Goldie Hawn was sitting like 2 rows behind me.
Yeah.
I had better seats than she did, but she was 2 rows behind. You know, my sister would tell me all kinds of actors and actresses show up. So it's really kind of interesting. It's fun.
Yeah, you never know who you're gonna have the seat next to.
Yeah. So I would encourage people to go. Let me ask you one more question about that, and then we'll turn to the children's theater. So for somebody that does like to go to New York, what's the best way to find out about shows that really are worth seeing?
Yeah. I would check out the listings in the New Yorker magazine and also the New York Times. And there's also an awesome app. It's my favorite thing. It's called Today Ticks. And Today Ticks lists shows and then also has discounted theater tickets or offers discounted theater tickets ahead of time. And so I tell everybody to hop on Today Ticks because it's totally worth it. And they meet you at the theater with your tickets. You look for someone with an apron and they hand you your tickets and go right in. It's awesome.
And it's called Today Ticks. Is that
Today Ticks?
Interesting. I'm going to do that as soon as we get off this show.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell people if they don't know about the Nashville Children's Theater. I consider it one of the gems of this city. I'm always amazed at the productions, but it's up to you. You tell us what you can about the Children's Theater.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the amazing thing about talking to you today, Jim, is today is officially our 90th anniversary. You know, Nashville Children's Theater is 90 years old today. And so many people don't realize it is the oldest cultural institution in Nashville. The Children's Theater came before the symphony, Nashville Rep, the ballet, the opera. We were here first, you know, started by the Junior League in 1931. And eventually the Children's Theater became its own entity. The Junior League has shown support through the years. But it's amazing to think about, yeah, it is something to be proud of. And at being 90, we're the oldest professional children's theater in the United States, which I think a lot of people don't realize as well. Like, here we are in their own backyard. But it's amazing to look at and see how the Children's Theater then, if you think about it, 1931, the Children's Theater was really created at the heart of the Great Depression. There, the Junior League wanted to bring joy and creative expression to children, and so they created the Children's Theater. And since then, that's really what the Children's Theater's, you know, mission has been. After the Great Depression, during the desegregation of national schools, the Children's Theater started our student matinee program in order to bring both Black and white students together. That the city at the time turned to the Children's Theater and said, how can you help us at this time? And so that is really what started the student matinee program in the 60s, and what has really been now serving, if you think about it, millions of Nashvillians since.
So, so for people who have, let me rephrase the question. For people who have never been to the Children's Theater and think, I'm not going to that. That's a bunch of kids, you know, just doing a production. What do you tell them so that they understand? Because I'm not sure if everybody understands what's happening over there.
Right. Well, Nashville Children's Theater is the largest theater company in Middle Tennessee. Pre-COVID, we were serving over 85,000 audience members a year. We are the second highest cultural institution in Nashville after the Symphony. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think people sometimes think or hear children and think, oh, it's kids on stage. What is on stage are actually professional adult actors, many of which are members of Actors Equity Association, which is the professional actors union. The designers and artists who create the costumes and the sets, the lighting, they are the creme de la creme of folks in the city, and at times visitors that we bring in to work with us. Every year we produce a main stage season, as well as then a Snuggery season of late. The Snuggery is also productions that are, again, adults performing for, but this time 0 to 5-year-olds. So that's a unique, interactive, immersive theater experience for the very young. But I think they would, you know, people have made comparisons in the past to some of our shows are just as good as TPAC, if not better, like a Broadway tour. That our shows are really, we really are the resident or regional theater of this area.
I guess I should have said this at the beginning. I was on the board, you know, many years ago, and now I'm back on the board. I love being on the board. I didn't always understand exactly what I was doing on the board, but I used to sit with Scott Copeland, and we would make jokes most of the time. So my job was to entertain him during the meetings. But my kids at that point were a little older. So I would go to the show by myself. And I always felt a little weird because it's like I'm by myself watching a children's production. But
yeah, but at the same time, you know, theater for young people is really multi-generational programming, right? There's really a multi-generational audience that we're serving. And so there's something for everyone in a Nashville Children's Theater show. And in particular, I think, you know, in addition to just the artistry and the theatricality, the a lot of the work that we're doing is really universal, whether that's a story about bullying an immigrant, from the United States, a young girl in something like The 100 Dresses, to telling a story about like Ghost, which was a young man in an inner city track team finding his way in his journey. I mean, really, the stories that we're telling are universal stories about finding yourself or discovery things about the world. Well, we know Disney's for kids. There are people who enjoy Disney films and Disney stories to this day. And so I think a lot when people are like, oh, that's for kids or kids, I go, well, how many adults went on a date to The Lion King? Or how many, adults have gone to see Frozen on Broadway, right? Like these are The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night. Like it's always so funny. I think when all of a sudden something that I think is really TYA is on Broadway and people get excited and you go like, that's TYA on Broadway, But I think it's really universal. I think the work that we're doing, the purpose of our work is to speak to everybody. I mean, as the oldest cultural institution in town, I really see ourselves as the city's theater. We are everyone's theater. Here we are. Yes, our mission is to help nurture the future global citizens of Nashville, but there are a lot of people who are invested in them. And so I think they can appreciate the work as well.
You hear about, I think I hear this about particularly Disney productions or films. And I know, when you watch movies with younger children, I'm watching and a lot of the stuff I think today is written, I mean, it's for kids, but I end up laughing sometimes more than the kids because there's things interwoven in there that are for adults.
Absolutely, for adults and recognizing, I think, not only being able to appreciate material, but also kind of recognizing characters and laughing at those experiences, out of a sort of recognition of someone who is bashful or someone who happens to be sort of ridiculous. Yeah, as an adult, you're sitting there, with heightened senses, ready to enjoy a story.
Well, I love going to the children's theater, and in fact, I'm going today. So tell us about this season. What has been shown and what is to come?
Yeah. What's been really exciting during this time, it's been a challenge, of course, for a lot of cultural organizations. And so we've tried to meet the challenge and raise it one, if you will. So earlier this season, we produced Charlotte's Web at an actual barn out in Kingston Springs. And so it was a immersive experience for people to be outside and be able to watch Charlotte's Web. That particular story also was told with live musicians, which I think was really fun and sort of added to a celebratory atmosphere of the event because we were so excited to be in for the first audiences in 18 months. Then we produced what is now in the building is The Elves and the Shoemaker. It's an adaptation that I wrote of The Elves and the Shoemaker that we actually did outside the building for all of September and October and early November because we knew people would have difficulty coming to us and being inside. We went to them. And so we literally took the show on the road and then produced The Elves and the Shoemaker and toured to area schools and care facilities.
So let me stop you for just a second because I told the city council this the other night. I was in a play called The Shoemaker and the Elves. Okay, when I was in second grade, I was in The Shoemaker and the Elves. Is this basically kind of the same story?
Yes. Okay. Same story with a bit of a twist.
But the story that I was the star in. No, I was not the star. I was not the shoemaker. I was an elf. There were 5 elves at that point, and they were called Aphen, Ethan, Ifen, Ophen, and Ufen. Yeah, that's it. They were named
after the vowels.
I was Ufen. I was the last of the vowels. And I had no lines to say, so I'm just letting you know. Okay, go on.
Well, that's great. Yeah, yeah. So that's based on the Brothers Grimm, the classic story, classic fairy tale. Then in October, we did the regional premiere of The Lightning Thief, based on the Percy Jackson series, the Broadway musical, and we did that in partnership with Belmont University, which was
Mhm.
really excited. And their students were then featured on stage in an awesome rock musical. And then in the new year, we're doing the world premiere of our original adaptation of Peter Pan, which is really exciting. And then after Peter Pan, we'll open the Snuggery, which is that performance series that I mentioned for 0 to 5-year-olds. And that will feature Baby Shark, a performance based on the popular earworm of a song, Baby Shark. And then
Thanks,
in
Ned. Now I've got it in my head. All right,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah, no, it happens. And then in June and July, we're one of 2 theaters in the United States this season that are premiering the SpongeBob musical in an edit. So it was on Broadway in a full 2.5-hour version. This is a 70-minute edit of the SpongeBob musical. And so, yeah, most of the season is about celebrating theater, and just that we're having people back in the building.
So tell me a little bit more about this snuggery thing, because I have a grandchild,
Yes.
and she's is likely not to sit still for more than 5 seconds. So how does that work? How are you going to play with kids running all over the place?
Yeah. Well, that's also kind of part of it. So our Snuggery series is a wiggle welcome zone. And we know that even a young person, even if they get up and move or do something, they can still be engaged in the performance. So that's why a Snuggery performance begins in the lobby, and the actors introduce themselves as characters and then invite the audience to travel with them into the performance space. The performance space is our studio theater and rehearsal room space, so it's an intimate environment. There are less than 100 people, less than 100 bodies, really, that experience a Snuggery performance. And the Snuggery uses non-traditional seating. And again, the set is 360, but we say to the audience, hey, if somebody needs to get up, that's great. If somebody walks around, that's great. This is a wiggle welcome zone. We're doing something that is yes and for young people to keep them engaged. Each young audience member gets a bag or basket of props, which are then involved in the show. The young people who experience the Snuggery show are actually a part of the show. They themselves get to help solve problems that happen in the play. They get to help the characters do certain activities throughout the play. They are able to speak to the actors during the play. And so, yeah, that's what it's really about for them, and sort of like creating that toddler to pre-K, really early theater experience.
So are there actual play? I mean, is there a name of the play, or are there several plays in this thing?
Yes. So this year will be Baby Shark. In the past,
Right.
done plays based on the Itsy Bitsy Spider, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, the Teddy Bear's Picnic. Many times there's music involved in the Snuggery shows.
Are there other groups doing this type of thing? Because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, a few, people have definitely experimented. So in Europe, this kind of theater is huge. In fact, that's where I first experienced my first baby play. I was on a fellowship that I received to study TYA in Denmark. And I was also about to write a play about young Hans Christian Andersen. And so I was really lucky enough to spend almost 3 weeks in Denmark, seeing theater and visiting theater festivals. And then I went to the town Hans Christian Andersen lived in, and I also hung out in Copenhagen. It was an amazing experience. And while at a theater festival, these 2 theater managers that were an older couple kind of befriended me and took me out to dinner one night, and they were helping me pick the performances I wanted to see. And the woman who I was with said, oh, well, I could get you tickets to this play, but it's for the babies. And I was like, for the babies? Then I want to see it. And so it is that first experience that kind of has sparked theater for the very young for me. Yeah, there aren't many people in the United States really doing theater for the very young. There's a company out in California that does pieces. There's a company in the DC area, two in fact. And from time to time, Minneapolis Children's Theater Children's Theater Company will do a play for the very young, but it is now part of our season. And I think the way in which we produce them is very unique and quintessentially Nashville Children's Theater. So I do think audiences who come to the Snuggery are seeing something that they won't see anywhere else.
Have you ever been a participant in the audience of Tony and Tina's wedding?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, imagine that. It's like Tony and Tina's wedding for the pre-K set. Yeah.
So I also was a participant. I had, for those people who don't know what we're talking about, Tony and Tina's wedding was an off-Broadway, I think, production. Started in New York. I actually did it in Las Vegas, and it's like you buy tickets and you are a part of Tony and Tina's wedding, and you actively become you're at their wedding. And then I know it's different in Las Vegas. We actually had a sit-down dinner. I was sitting next to the father of the bride, I think, who had divorced the mother and had brought his girlfriend, who was a stripper, to the production. And it was one of the most fun things I've ever done. Yeah. It was hysterical because you become a participant in the production.
And that's what a lot of that, and that's what really a Snuggery show is. So with Teddy Bear's Picnic, for example, every young audience member was invited to the Teddy Bear's Picnic. So they sat on their own picnic blanket with their own picnic basket that had things. Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, everyone became recruits for star training to be a star keeper. And so they sat under the stars and helped do different jobs with the star keeper. And so with, not to give everything away with Baby Shark, but with Baby Shark, everyone is a sailor in a submarine, while two characters that are kind of like Jacques Cousteau search for Baby Shark.
I got it. All right, so let me ask you a couple of really hard questions.
Okay.
Okay. So how long have you been at the Children's Theater?
In January, I will have been here 5 years.
Okay. So here's the first hard question.
Okay.
Favorite production? Can you name the one that stands out in your mind as your most favorite production since you've been here?
That is really hard. There are two that I think that's really hard. I would say though, one production definitely was my first year I was directing, and that was Mockingbird, which was a story of a young woman with autism healing from the death of her brother with her father. And that particular production was really meaningful. And 3 days into rehearsal, the young man who's dead died in a high school shooting. And then, there was a shooting 3 days into rehearsal that we all heard about. So that play felt very of the moment and felt very contemporary and almost like news reporting in a way, but also interesting to follow as the country healed. The characters in the play were going through the same thing. And then, I think our production of Little Mermaid was really magical. And again, something that I think we did that was beautiful and uniquely ours. But, all the productions, they're all my sons, Jim. Like, I can't pick one better than the other. And Charlotte's Web will just be incredibly memorable that we did last summer. Like just being at the farm and that cast and the music and
So if people are interested in, a couple things. First of all, the best way to find out what productions are going on would be to do what?
Come to the website.
People are interested. Yeah.
That website, nashvillect.org, or you could spell out Children's Theater. It's Nashville Children's Theater, but nashvillect.org. And you'll be able to find out not only about our productions, but our drama school, which also has its own programming. And something that I think is really amazing to think about the number of young people we serve. We So those are classes for young people, but it's really kind of crazy, Jim, because when I think of those classes and having talked about multi-generational programming, we have offered classes through the years that have been mommy and me. So that's like 3-year-olds all the way through senior citizens. We did Osher lifelong learning workshops and a seminar in the past. So again, it's kind of funny. There you go. Children is in the title, but we're really serving so many different people. But you can find out everything about us and even more on nashvillect.org, or find us on Facebook, or join us on Instagram. We're usually shouting about, if it's not a production, it's classes. And right now classes are both in person and virtual for people so that they feel comfortable, learning and having a transformational theatrical experience either way.
If somebody, when you go to the website, and let's say that they're, they want to take their children to something, is there some age? I mean, particularly Mockingbird would have been
Yes.
probably a much more kind of I say advanced. I mean, it's probably not for a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
So how do you find that out? Is it on the description?
That's listed on the website. Every show has the age recommendations, if you will. And then we also have we have a parent guide and parent tips. So you can also check out how we kind of rate things so people can know what they're getting into, So again, like Percy Jackson, that was more like a 5th grade, 6th grade and up. We had younger watch it and thoroughly enjoy it. But some of the situations, scare factor, mythological monsters, we rate that and put that on the website.
So I got a question about how do you, and then I'm going to go back to the school. But how do you pick your productions, and then are the people who perform in the shows, they're not full-time employees of the children's theater, they're actors and they contract just like everybody else. They can they can go and do other productions.
So what's awesome is we have an awesome pool of talent here in Nashville. So all I would say 90%, 95% of the actors that we work with are all Nashville based. They're actors that you'll see work at Nashville Rep or Nashville Shake, Studio 10, and around town. Every once in a while, there is a friend or there is someone, because of certain casting needs, that we've reached outside of town. We've worked with actors from Atlanta who've come up. There are several former students of mine from Chicago that have come down to do shows, but primarily they're local. They come down, they either work, they work for us for that amount of weeks here at the Children's Theater. In terms of picking shows, it is a mix of, usually every year I try to find some sort of theme, or I try to connect the pieces together. What would be a neat thing to kind of connect the work we're doing? But that's a group of plays that's really, after I talk with teachers, find out what teachers are reading, polling families, what families are interested in, then also just the internal knowledge of what I think we're able and capable to produce. Also, sometimes it's plays that have fallen into our lap or opportunities that have come. So it's kind of a mixed bag of all those sort of things. And then we cross our fingers and hope folks come to the theater.
So let me go back, because you were talking about your camps, but to lead into that, your connections with the school system. You were just talking about it.
Yeah.
How does that all interact? And then I know that there are kids I know the schools bring kids to you to watch performances.
Absolutely. We serve over 65% of Nashville public schools, and we serve schools in Davidson County and then 11 surrounding counties surrounding Davidson. So what's crazy is, earlier when I was talking about 85,000 people coming through the building, 65,000 of those a year would be students. Again, that pre-COVID time signature. The performance schedule at the building is Tuesday through Sunday, right? So public audiences are here in the building on Saturdays and Sundays. I don't know how many of them realize Tuesday through Friday, we're doing 2 shows a day for students who come to the theater at 10, at 11:45. And so we have at times over 1,000 kids in the building a day. Depending upon what time you show up to the building during the week, there's a line of yellow school buses, in front of the building and then reaching out to Middleton. That I think in and of itself is this really great, crazy way that we're serving Nashville and serving Nashville public schools. For many young people, we're their introduction to the arts in general.
Yes.
We are their first arts experience, which along with it is really exciting. And again, with some of those plays that we're picking, there is a responsibility that comes with that. I know that's what fuels me with the work that I create, that I think, wow, I have helped create something that is someone's first theater experience that they'll hopefully enjoy, and then hopefully carry with them their entire life. And so that is just a sort of an awesome thing to think about. We also work with various after-school programs and have various in-school residencies as well, where we're coming in and helping teach theater classes, teach drama. We also do workshops in schools. We also serve and help serve the STEAM Passport program in MNPS every year. So the show you're about to see today will actually be both streamed to MNPS STEAM Passport kindergartners, but due to a gift from the Junior League, also all the first graders in that program as well. And so, those are just some of the ways that we're serving public schools.
So I know obviously you take your job seriously in terms of the understanding of what you're doing and what you're showing. And a lot of this may be their introduction into the arts. Do the school systems, let's say, I didn't see Mockingbird, but I had heard about it. But in terms of preparing kids at the classrooms before they come over and watch the production, is there a coordinated effort so that kids are kind of understanding kind of the meaning of it before they actually see the production?
Absolutely. So every production that we do, we have a education guide that goes with it, that is multi-pages, that has has curriculum connections and standards for teachers, so they see how the play aligns with curriculum. There are lesson plans. There is an introduction to concepts and themes in the play that are all in these guides, and they all live online. They're also sent to teachers once they book, but they all live online so teachers can see. Frequently, they also need, once they say they want to bring students, they're filling out, forms, and someone wants to know, how's this, field trip going to help students? And that curriculum guide alone, many teachers have shared with us, they're like, I just print out the curriculum guide and attach it to my thing and say there, because that job is done for me. In addition, there are even further materials online for teachers. We also have pre-show workshops that we do with many of the schools that we work with, so students are ready. Then for public audiences, there are pre-show activities in the lobby so that young people can begin to get in the frame of mind with production and can begin to be introduced to concepts and ideas before. It's great because parents love it because it keeps folks busy before the show, but it is a fun interactive way to get people thinking about the play even before they enter the theater. And then we do post-show discussions after the performances as well.
So I know that sometimes I'll sit down and color before the show, but my wife usually makes me stop because I'm not really good staying within the lines. Let me ask you this, the camps. So I had heard this a couple of years ago, and then you can tell me whether it's still the case or not, but I had somebody call me and say, no, I was calling them about something else, and they said, we will have to call you back. It is almost 10 o'clock on a specific day, and they were trying to sign up their kids for a camp at National Children's Theater.
Yes.
And it's like, well, you can't talk now. And they go, no. They go, because these things fill up really quickly and we're on it.
Yes.
And is that still the case?
It still is the case. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Especially with certain age groups, it is very much the case. And it's like concert tickets. There are people that get ready because registration opens at 10 o'clock on Tuesday. And so you better be ready. I have had similar phone calls through folks on the board or friends of mine now in Nashville that are like, you can't tell me Harry Potter really sold out in, 2 hours. And I can be, yes, it did. Yes.
So when is this special day?
Oh, that's great. We Facebook and Instagram about it. So frequently, depending upon the session of classes,
Okay.
it can change.
It changes.
But
Okay.
summer camp will start to go on sale the end of January, early February. I believe the date is end of January. But we're going to shout out about on social media a save the date
When
for
that is.
our
Okay.
friends who know they gotta set their alarms.
Okay. All right. I just remembered it and going like, oh, I mean, because they were like, I can't talk to you right now.
So,
I'm doing this. All right. So, all right. So we're getting close to the end of this thing. It's been really, really interesting. Let me ask you. Okay, here was the other hard question for you.
Okay.
What's in the 5 years that you've been at NCT, the most interesting or the funniest thing that's happened during a performance with kids?
Okay, good one. So right before the pandemic, we did a piece called Secret Soldiers, which was about women who disguised themselves as men to fight in the Civil War. They were all based on actual historical cases and real people. Part of the cool thing I thought about that show was the play was a trial, and the audience actually decided on the end of the play. So they actually got a point where they could ask the characters questions, in particular one female soldier, because the play was her trial. So the audience was the jury, and they got to vote on the end. And we had on-stage seating in these big risers. And so the play almost kind of happened 360. But I'm like, oh, the audience is able to look at one another. This is so cool. People,
You'll be all right, son.
How often do you get to sit on stage?
Go ahead, Arnie.
Yeah, how often do you get to sit on stage, right? And the cast was like, okay, let's see how this goes. And I'm like, no, it's going to be so cool. The 4th and 5th graders seeing this, they're going to have the time of their lives. And in the middle of the battle scene, in one of the battle scenes, a young person threw up and hurled in the middle of the play, and they were right on stage. So they kind of added to the battle atmosphere by vomiting directly into the play. It's definitely memorable.
Memorable, and then what happened? Did somebody quickly go clean?
Yes, Bob, our box office,
I know Bob.
Manager, made a guest appearance with the stuff, that you put down, and the cast in staging just stayed clear of an area. Yes.
Okay, so let me ask you one other question, sort of like that. And I guess, so I understand the Snuggery stuff, but particularly if you're having if you've got people up on stage watching and so forth, I would be nervous that a child would just sort of walk into the play. Has that ever happened?
Yes. We've had young people just enter. In one of the Snuggery shows, what was lovely was there was a little girl, maybe 3 or 4 years old, that literally just followed Catherine Birdsong an entire show. She wasn't disruptive to the play. She wasn't. She just looked up at Catherine and then followed her. If Catherine went one way, she went one way. We have had some people definitely almost join the orchestra when we've had the orchestra pit open. Or people who have just been like, there is a young person right here. But it'll be interesting when you see Elves and the Shoemaker today. The audience sits on stage, but in a different way for this one. So you'll see that, Jim. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty intimate theater experience today.
Okay, I'll try to stay put.
We'll see who just jumps up and joins.
I'll try to be careful. So let me, so to end our discussion, this has been really, really interesting. I've learned a lot that I didn't even know. So if people, again, let's go back. If people are interested in seeing a performance, I know you can get season tickets, you can get individual tickets to a play. So if someone, the performances are Saturday and Sunday for the public. What best way to find out and the best way to get tickets for these things?
Sure. Best way to find out, NashvilleCT.org. And on that website, there are many ways on the website that you can find out about supporting Nashville Children's Theater, whether it's purchasing a camper class for someone, it's purchasing, our memberships aren't limited like the old subscription model of you have to do a ticket to each show. You can get a membership and then use those tickets any way you like. So you could bring the neighborhood if you want it on your membership. And then in addition to like camps or classes or our programming, you know, if people are in the giving mood, especially in the holiday spirit, there is a way to donate to Nashville Children's Theater. And in particular right now, I should have been ready with my prop, Jim. I didn't set my prop. But right now, our end of the year holiday campaign, we're celebrating the 90th. So with every donation of $20 or more, donors receive a limited edition 90th anniversary Christmas ornament.
Very
so
nice.
they can remember and celebrate the holiday season right now. And being able to donate and support is on NashvilleCT.org as well.
Okay, so people should go to the website, buy tickets. They can support the theater, and I guess we'll end by, I'll ask this one last question. Again, if I had never been to the theater, to the Children's Theater, what would you tell me to get me to come?
I would tell you, get ready, because you're going to have a transformational theatrical experience, and you're going to see something unlike anything you can see in the city, and also experience it with a community and an audience unlike any other as well. And part of the joy of seeing a play at Nashville Children's Theater is sitting with young people. It is sitting with families. That is also an experience of itself that is unlike anything else.
Thank you. Ernie Nolan, Executive Artistic Director of the Nashville Children's Theater. Thank you for being our guest today. This has been really, really interesting. If you haven't, I have not seen the production of The Elves and the Shoemaker, but I'm going to see it today. I would encourage you to get tickets and go. How long is it running through the holidays?
It's running until December 19th. And so if you're busy during the holidays, you do not want to miss our production of Peter Pan. It is so exciting. I can tell you the puppetry, the music, and then also, if anyone knows, Megan Murphy Chambers is in our production. She is Captain Hook. And that in of itself is worth seeing the production.
I got it. So for the rest of the audience, we're off for the rest of the year. We will start back with our community conversations in January. So Ernie, you're our last guest of the year, so thank you.
Well, happy holidays, Jim.
Happy holidays to you and to everyone else. I hope everyone has a wonderful holiday season. Happy New Year. Everyone be safe. And you know, it's funny, Ernie, we did these things in 2020, and it was like we couldn't get rid of that year fast enough. And now we're at the end of 2021.
It's so fast. November and December weren't months. They were a blink of an eye.
So everyone, again, be safe. I know people are recovering from last night and will be recovering, but I always think of the holiday season with new hope and spirit and love, and wishing everybody the best of the holiday season. We'll see you next year. And Ernie, I'll see you in just a couple hours.
Totally.
Thanks, everybody. Everybody be safe. Have a great rest of the weekend. Bye.